Hey, what's up? So today we're going to do the the number 4 question on the October 2015 baby boy, which is a contracts question. And so we're just going to go through it like my other ones with real-time test conditions with an hour. I got my timer here. And yeah, we're just going to go through it like I'm seeing it for the first time, okay? To kind of give you an idea that, you know, it took me about an hour to write this one on the actual exam. I'm actually sort of proud of this one. I got a 70 on it. Um, so just yeah, I said what I had to say, and I felt like my organization was fine. I didn't miss anything. Sure, I missed a few things obviously because I didn't get a perfect score, but um, the big issues I got, the things that mattered. So yeah, so what I like to do is whenever when I go through the question, I sort of just kind of put in capital letters the issues I see, so it's easy to navigate. Some people like to outline. You feel free to do that. It, yeah, I mean, if it works for you, then great. I trust myself enough to the way I can kind of put down the main issues as I go through the question and then get back to it. That way, at least I know that I have the extra 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever I would normally spend on outlining to kind of just make sure I can write the complete answer, because I think that not writing a complete answer is a lot worse than writing in depth with all the facts, only like three-quarters of an answer or even half of an answer. Okay, so if outlining works for you, then do it. Okay. Um, so here we go. Okay. Here we are. All right. So, first thing I like to do is always just write out the actual call of the question. I had a bartender once, and he told me that the reason why like half the people don't why they fail the bar when they do is they just don't answer the questions. Very easy. Okay. What is Shaq's like about success? Sex and his. Saying what any would he be entitled to? Okay. It says like discuss or whatever, but I don't put discuss in there. You just look stupid. Okay, what defenses, if any, can start. All right, time to read the question. All right, first thing for contracts is even without reading the question, I just always put governing law. That's sort of important. That's always what you should put under there. So here, Jack, a retiree. Wow, right off the bat, they tell us what he is. And with tests like these, it's always very important to like look at the actual words they use. As my former professor used to say, words don't fall into question by accident. Okay, so when they say he's a retiree, he's a retiree. Okay, how do you picture retiree? Just an old guy, just probably not very active. They didn't say Jack, former builder, or Jack, hobbyist, home constructionist or anything. He's a retiree. Okay, so this is going to probably mean that he's not a merchant. And obviously, one of the main questions with these contracts questions, one of the main issues is always whether or not the parties are merchants. Okay, so right off the bat, governing law, as we can see, this is going to be an issue. I'm going to put merchants. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, let's keep going. We plan to build a new home on a vacant property. He decided to use a particular product called Austin Brown stone for the exterior walls, and estimated he would need about 100 tons of stone. That's a lot of stone. Okay. All right, Jack drafted a contract to present to Stone Co. So drafted, presumably, there's a written contract so far, along with Stone Distributor, in which Jack agreed. All right, so we have, if they tell you agreed in the question, as one of the elements of a valid contract, is an agreement to the terms and stuff. That's normally a pretty good sign when they use specific words like that. Agreed. However, we don't know if the other side has signed yet, or there's really the fulfilled contract yet. Okay. Sweeney was Jack agreed to buy all the Austin Brown. So he needs to build the exterior walls of his house at a price of $20 per ton to be delivered to his property in 5-ton lots within 10 days following each request for 5 tons. We pay for upon delivery. Okay, semantics. To ensure timely delivery, Jack included a liquidated damages clause. All right. So when they tell you that, it sounds, the second call to question, or first call to question is what damages might he be entitled to? And they tell you it's liquidated damages clause. It's probably going to be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead. Put that somewhere down here. Liquidated damages, all right? Okay, then we have which part that's pay. But if we reach that any question delivery is late, $5,000 per day. Okay, Jack, sign and drop out the contract. Stone Cold with review and signature. All right, that even in the Stone Cold Cement Underground is not easily obtained. So it sounds like there might be a formation of contracts issue here. And really, whenever there's I would always go through the acceptance and the consideration offer in any contract question. Even they tell you there already is a valid written contract, I would just kind of restate in each of those that, like, well, because of state there was a valid written contract, there was most likely an agreement, and then move on to the next one. Even just kind of say it differently for each one. I wouldn't just completely just assume there was a valid contract and then not talk about the consideration, acceptance, or offer. Just it only takes a few seconds or a few minutes. Just go through that to cross your T's and dot your I's. Okay. So merchants. So the next question is valid contract. And always we have the offer. Always put in this order: offer, acceptance, and then consideration, because consideration is usually the most important part. Okay. All right. Now we're cooking. Okay. So property damages clause. Okay, Jack sign and drop out the contract to Stone Cold for its review and signature that evening. Stone Cold Sailors, knowing that Austin Brownstone, this is the one he wanted, right? Okay. It's not easily obtained. We don't like where this is going. But the following just below Jack's damages clause, notwithstanding the foregoing, if Stone Cold has difficulty getting Austin Brownstone, Stone Cold may substitute Austin Whitestone. The Stone Cold salesperson then signed the contract, and they signed it, but we don't know. Okay, so now both have signed, so we should have a valid contract. Remember, so the return to Jax did not read the modified contract. We'll see the term added by Stone Cold. What is important about the sentence? The fact that they use this word, a modified contract. Okay, they're admitting to you and they're telling you it's a modified contract. Now, as we know, what do we know about merchants and modified contracts? Only way that a modified contract can be validly modified without there being consideration is if both parties are merchants. Is Jack a merchant here? No, he's not. Stone Co. Probably, of course, yes. So, modification here is going to be an issue. So this is going to be after the consideration, after we say whether or not there's going to be a valid contract, not a modification. Okay. 1 week later, Jack made a request for the first 5 tons, right? In 5-ton increments or something like 5-ton lots. Okay. Austin Brownstone and Stone Cold started looking for a supplier. Stone Cold quickly discovered that Austin Brownstone was not available in the United States. Big surprise, right? Okay. Although it could be imported from Canada, importing it would add $25 per ton to Stone Cold's expenses and reduce his profit margin. Sucks for Stone Cold, doesn't it? Lo and behold, right, 10 days after Jack's order, Stone Cold delivered Austin Whitestone. Was this the one he wanted? Doesn't look like it. Austin Whitestone with a note stating that Austin Brownstone was not available in the U.S. So remember, Jack, why is this sentence important? Stone Cold thinks there's an agreement. Jack didn't read the modified contract. And Jack's not a merchant. So So this contract so far is not valid, okay? It's not looking good for Stone Cold, okay? With a note stating that Austin was not available in the U.S. and demand for payment on the new price of $225 per ton, right? Because we had $200 per ton. Plus the cost of $25 for importing it from Canada, the one that Jack wants. Jack immediately said, what the fuck? Called the Stone Cold salesperson stating he would not accept the substitution because Austin Whitestone was a completely different product. No shit. Jack contracted with no supplier. right, for Austin Brown stone, 225 per ton. So I guess it's sort of the same price, but he still thought he'd be getting the $200 per ton of the one he wanted, which was the Austin Brown stone. Okay. Jack thereafter filed a lawsuit against Snow seeking damages for breach of contract and liquidated damages. Yeah, so a question like this, they're kind of telling you, when they tell you what he's seeking, it could just be he's only seeking liquidated damages, and you don't have to talk about anything else, you know? So just answer the question, okay? I might have just added something else in there, but yeah, you put liquidated first, and don't miss that one, okay? Just do that important one first. All right. So, so of course after modification, we're going to have, because this is seemingly going to involve the perfect tender rule, that the buyer can reject if it's not with the perfect, that it's not what they agreed upon. You guys know what that is. And then only because when both parties are not merchants, a counter, or when one party's not a merchant, a counter offer, when Jack had the option to accept the Austin Whitestone, which is not what he wanted, but we have to discuss for that, for him to be able to do that, it would have to be a counter offer from the stone company, okay? And obviously he didn't accept that. So then we have the essence of the perfect tender rule, which is non-conforming ship. Well, yeah, I guess that's really just, yeah, the part of it explaining why the counter offer could be the counter offer, and technically it's called the non-conforming rule. And then below that we have after contract formation. There's three huge parts of any contract question. One is contract formation. Second one is breach. Third one is damages. Okay, liquidated damages. Turns out I added some general damages. Just yeah. So defenses. This big one here, because they're gonna probably claim that you know, that they couldn't do it. They had an import from Canada. So what defense would that probably raise for them is going to be commercial impracticability. And they may even try to claim, I put here, unilateral mistake. Alright, and I like, before the main issues, I like to bold and underline. And it really is important that you had this part down before you really start writing, because you don't want to get caught like trying to add issues midway through your writing the entire exam. So you just gotta know, have confidence in yourself. When you miss a few things, so be it. But just it is what it is. You got to move on. If you know, this is what you got. This is what you got. You got to go with it. Okay. Right now we got about a little bit of time. It's 47 minutes left, so we got plenty of time to write this thing. Okay, so this is where I like to be, you know, with about 45 minutes left and all my issues there. So now it's just time to kind of like start banging out the rules. I like writing the rules for each one before I start to do any analysis. Okay. So as we know here, we were just describing what the governing law governs all the movable goods. You can say movable tangible goods, which is, you know, movable goods, and common law will govern all other contracts. Sorry, merchants. Those who, notice how I'm doing all the rules for these. You can do however you like. This just works for me, okay? Deal in the specified in the contract. Sometimes, I mean, I forget parts of my rules too, even, the heat of the moment when you're writing a question, and just do the best you can you know, emergence, right. To be a valid contract, there must be a, preferably I wouldn't have used like valid twice in the same sentence, but I mean, you just don't have time to do that shit, if it's just, you know, just go with it. Simpler, the better, right? Like a seventh grader, okay? It's funny, I was reading the Supreme Court document about some mutual fund timing way back when. But in the Supreme Court justices, right, these are supposed to be the smartest of the brightest of the bright, right? And they keep telling this lawyer, like, I don't, let me get this straight. What you mean to say, spell it out to me like I'm a seventh grader, And these are like Supreme Court justices. Never doubt the importance or the benefit of just writing for a seventh grader, okay? You don't want to write some super like convoluted answer and lots of periods too. Short sentences, lots of periods. Don't write some long ass answer that doesn't make any sense. And you're like, well, I knew the material, and then it's just you gotta take the baby bar again. Wait like 6 months. It sucks. Offering with clear and concise terms, community. Remember, because we're probably going to, oh, yeah, hold on. So the UCC will probably apply here because even though stone is heavy as shit, it's still movable, okay? So there are a set of rules that send. I think I was supposed to add or there, but hey, I'm staying true to the answer I wrote, okay? Oh, I guess, no. I guess okay, it's fine. Agreement to the terms of the contract. Even though that wasn't a contract here, I just say of the contract. I mean, you just sort of, you don't have a whole lot of time on these things, you just gotta make it weird. They know what you're talking about. They don't really have time to, like, the graders don't really have time to read all your specific words anyway. I mean, maybe they do, but I wouldn't bet on it. And changing of so here's kind of one of the important parts they're going to be looking for. This is the main issue of his question is like the fact that not both parties are merchants, and what the modification would mean for that, and therefore after the modification, what that would mean for the perfect tender rule for him to be able to reject this, if the modification is not allowed, because if he was a merchant and he didn't say anything, then he wouldn't be able to deny it under the perfect tender rule because it, would have been perfect tender because modification would have been allowed into contract because they were both merchants, okay? But because he's just simple old Jack retiree, like, hey, come on, I didn't, I'm just a guy trying to build a house here. I read the newspaper with my grandkid. I didn't, there's a different set of rules for just a regular non-merchant, okay? You can't just add terms in like that without there being additional consideration. Because additional consideration would mean that Jack would have had to know about it. And with consideration and bargain for exchange for return value, there would have had to been another bargain for exchange for return value for Jack to have to accepted on his terms this modification for the for either the Austin Whitestone or the increase in price. I guess I should have said proposal there. I just said, but I returned proposed. Oh, and maybe I guess it is right. Differing set. So I did return to a. And I was just sort of. I mean, I forgot the specific rule for counteroffer. I just sort of had to change the same subject. Yeah. Never be afraid. Even Fleming should tell you this too. Never be afraid. I mean, I hope this doesn't happen a lot, but you know, subject and value. Never. If you got to make up a rule, you got to make up a rule, man. He'll tell you that himself. With a note for in place of the original shipment. Breach is pretty easy. The failure to, I think I just written the negligence question here. When's duties? That's why I put duties as. I just written the negligence question before this one. In the terms of the contract, but hey, it makes sense, doesn't it? Liquidate with damages. This is pretty easy. Damages built into the. And this is as specified by the contract in case of. From the natural flow and I think, you know, as you take remedies in year 2, there's no such thing as general damages, really. It's a tort thing, but, you know what? I still passed with a 70, right? So you can make mistakes, okay? May be released from liability, breach of contract, proof that on performance was not which would the keyword here is economic. Keyword is vastly different for commercial impracticability than what either party expecting. Lastly, reasonably understood as keywords here. Because obviously the defender would be like, well, I made a mistake, I didn't mean to. Well, the other guy has to also reasonably understand that there was a mistake as well, too, for there to be a unilateral mistake, okay? All right. So now we've got about 37 minutes. That should be plenty of time to hash our, just go down the list with our analysis, okay? Okay. I'll like any questions off with here because or here in this case. In this case, really gets the graders going. It just fires them up because shows you're paying attention. Or you can sometimes start a question with because if it's straightforward, okay? But lots of short sentences, lots of periods, okay? And that way when you're writing, it's easier for you to write to and not like, well, this, I mean, what I mean, you know, you don't want that, okay? Just, you know, it's easier to write simple sentences, easier to read and grade, consequently, too. Question deals with tons, right? Tons of stone, Tons of stone. Okay, use that. Like, if you've been watching my videos, you know how much. What kind of goods? Remember the exact words. What kind of goods? Movable. What am I going to say? Am I going to say considered, you know, I don't know, merchantable goods or sellable goods? No, I'm going to say, what did I say in my rule? I'm going to say the exact same words. Movable goods. Okay, consider these will be considered movable. Just use the same exact words right there, and just easy points, guys. Okay, and then since we just established that these two are movable and that the tons of stone will be considered movable, and you don't have to. I mean, you know, if you want to explain why tons of stone are movable, then go for it. But just they know what you mean, you know. I mean, just get. It's important to finish the entire question to make it look like a passing answer more than it is to explain why tons of stone are movable. Okay, like don't be an idiot. Okay, next one. So is a local stone distributor. Where did I get that? Out of my ass? No. Local stone distributor. Okay? Local stone distributor. And likely deals regularly. Oh, you can like pull the old switcheroo. It's fine as long as you use the same exact kind of root words. Regularly in stone. He will be, or they, he will be a, see, I make mistakes too. However, Jack, what is Jack? Jack is a retiree. Would likely not. You can say likely not, would tend not to be, generally not, just whatever fucking bullshit buzzwords, doesn't really matter. Rarely deal in the trade of stone and therefore would not be a merchant. Parties are not merchants. Okay, we already know. Here, yeah, that's just definition of what these are the elements of this. You don't have to like put anything under this because contract which quantities. Remember what's one of the important parts of the right? Yeah, because the UC will apply. UCC will apply. Well, we need for UCC. Quantity and parties. Okay? Quantities. Quantities. And the parties, right? Will satisfy UCC requirements. Off to Stone Co. for, what did he do? Stone Co. for its review. Review. And even though I didn't say reran signature, nobody's perfect. Just don't put in words that are not in the fact pattern, okay? Indicate and outwardly manifested. Present, just the same exact. Present intend to. I mean, it doesn't even like intend to. How I argue, they just want to. You know, they know what I'm talking about. You don't. When you're in court, you know, I imagine. You know, you don't have to explain to the judge why, like, someone saying, "Hey, you want to buy my car," and manifested presently intended. You look like an idiot, okay? You know. So when the example is that straightforward as it is here, with dropping up a contract for signing, you know, don't waste time on it. Was invalid. Here, I mean, I just keep saying, you know, here or because, here because, here because, you know, okay, because the Jack. Quotation marks are great too. It gets some real worked up, those graders. They probably go tell the wife, tell everybody, like, oh my god, this guy put it in quotes, he's paying attention, oh my god. probably go tell his neighbor that he one of those persons, right? Not reps, not any of that bullshit. Salesperson. Wrote the contract and these I made a typo here. And he signed the contract. Huh. So because, always use because. At least a what? I'm not good at meeting my eyes. I'm okay with mutual sign. I'm going to say any one of those things for this. To all terms of the contract, excluding, this is important to say, at the time the substitute. I mean, I guess you don't really have to say that because you're discussing why the modification is not approved on here, but it just, you know, if you want to go the extra 9 yards. And this is about the speed you should be going on these tests, okay? You know, a little bit of time to read, a little bit of time to talk. You know, I talk to the screen, but you probably talk yourself in your head or something, you know, and just kind of try to talk it through. And you should be okay. At times would indicate that there was a bargain for value in that Jack would get hit into his room. Just, you know, whatever to his fire. And that stone coat would be paid the value of. I mean, I just, you know, value, just might as well. The stone coat would be $200 per ton. Just still put, you know, remember what we're talking about here is a bargain for change for return value on both sides, you know. Okay, so we have all these things. We have valid offer, valid acceptance, valid consideration. You don't have to put conclusion in like capital letters, whatever. You can just put a few lines below, make it distinguishable. It was a valid contract. Ding. So now we get into the meat here. Here, when the stone knew that, and I'm gonna have a big, nice, wet because after this. Because this sentence is starting off like it's just going to be a narrative sort of thing. You got to be careful with that because if you miss it, because in a analysis, you know, you kind of running the risk of it not looking like a passing answer that you're like doing analysis, you know. Because boom. Why? Because. Why do I care? Why? Because. Not a merchant there would. I guess you don't really need a comma there, but I put one there. I have needed to be consideration. Oh, there would need to be consideration. Checks. This as a modification, and because now I kind of you could put like period there if you want to be saved, and also be or then additionally because, but I mean I've got the confidence here I can make this sound, but you know, so it's a long sentence, a lot of commas because comma and because you're adding two becauses there. You can do that. Just make sure it makes sense, you know, and read it to yourself before really moving on to the next thing. Okay. The clause, this would mean that there was not Mutual consideration. The modification was not valid. Boo. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna. I think it's important to put these things before breach, because breaches should always be the thing right before damages, you know? Stone that was delivered was not perfectly conforming. Use whatever exact word you put in your rule, okay? Like I like the same way the videos. I had a tutor one time, and she was like, "Look, you put this in your rule. Why didn't you put it in your analysis? So simple, and just the exact words too, as you know, to do the Austin Browns. He originally thought he had ordered is the right to do what? What does he reserve the right to do? Let me check that. It may legally put the I guess because non-firm country was kind of offered, these are kind of intertwined. I didn't actually do analysis for this. I just left it as this. You can do that like once or twice in an essay. Just make sure it makes sense going on the next one, that they see it, okay? That they see the point of you putting counteroffer there, that the significance is that whether or not it was, or that it could be also non-conforming, and that's actually non-conforming shipment as counteroffer is a very specific term used for if someone wants to accept the shipment regardless, okay? Even when they don't have to. That's the important part. How much time we got left here? about 25 minutes. I think we're still going to be okay, even with all my incessant talking. So, and this is actually one of my longer essays, I think. Because we already established that it was not perfect, okay? So you can say that here, it was not perfect. Remember, these essays are a narrative. There's an order to them. So things you've already established, you can bring up later in the essay. For the above, the shipment was, you know, essentially, virtually, for all practical purposes, as a counter offer as check was not hack Remember, always have a conclusion, usually, when it needs one. Sometimes I tend to restate things that I've already just stated there, but you just, almost word for word, for you just, you know, no one's perfect. You just got to keep going, man. These are tests of seeing the big picture and finishing the test. It's not a test of like how well you can like really examine like one analysis and really nail, you know, it's just, this is an endurance test, okay? You just got to get to the finish line. You don't have to be the first or second guy. The sale of this part's pretty straightforward. Because the modification allowing for the, we were just talking about what we've already established. I gotta hate writing Austin White, Austin Brown, Jesus Christ. Valid. And because I'm just banging this out in this test, you know, one after, and because, and then, you know, as long as you hit all the elements, it should have that. Seller Stone Co failed to to, remember, I'm just going to money shot, okay? To perform their duty as described in their contract. Remember, like I said before, answer the question, okay? What was the question here? What is Jack's likelihood of success in his lawsuit? You got to just spell it out for him. And Jack will be successful in his suit, okay? That's the answer to that question. Thank you. For the con was for each, and just remember with the exact which each day that any is but the one he won, Alex Brownstone. I guess we could have said that at the agreed upon price too, but I mean, I'm just trying to get through this test just like anybody else. Maybe I shouldn't have added general damages in the actual test, but I did. I mean, I just felt like sometimes you can just put one thing there, and that's just answer the question for damages, but I just felt like I couldn't just only put liquidated damages first. I'll explain this after we finish here, what I could have done differently, probably to get more points. And one of them is also going to be, I maybe should have mentioned the statute of frauds earlier, but I just maybe glossed over it, even though it probably wouldn't matter, because obviously from the very start it was a written contract. Not doing too bad. Still got about 17 minutes here. We're just on to the defenses, right? Their profit. This will not reducing profit by. I mean, sort of a judgment call, but like $25 per ton. I mean, it's not like they'd lost everything, I guess, but we're not really seeing. And I mean, it's not really like Jack's fault anyway, too. I mean, I don't. See. remotely and then use the exact words economically or later. And then I do any. Oh, where is the economic possible? Because I didn't really need to put this part here, but I have the actual words here. When we're not, I guess I was just trying to. Which in here it is, vastly. Okay. He was. Yeah, he had no reason. He didn't know. He didn't. I guess he maybe should have like. Yeah. That might have been another thing to discuss here. Is that maybe he should have read the contract again after they returned it. But then again, he's just a retiree. I mean, he had no reason to believe they would change it after they signed it. So I guess that's not really an issue. Not really one worth bringing up here about how he should have read the contract. Because no point wasting time on that. That, my friends, is the end. About 14 minutes left. Isn't that something, So these are not impossible, Um so what should I have done differently? Yeah, I mean maybe I should have. The 70 is still a great score. Um One of the biggest issues with contrast questions is always actually going to be statute of frauds, really. So, I mean, this time I guess I sort of just glanced. I didn't mention it because it was just the question. Really, the meat of it was not really. It was more about the modification than was the actual statute of frauds or whether there was like any agreement. Because there was an agreement, it just wasn't the agreement Jack thought. But maybe in the future I might have quickly just brought up the statute of frauds to show that I was, I knew that to be an important part of contract formation. Um, yeah, everything else. Um, and then general damages part here is it typically, yeah. I mean specifically when you take remedies, you'll see these are called usually either like something like expectation damages or something like consequence damages, which are foreseeable at the time entering contract and which are unique to the plaintiff. Again, general damages are really for torts, but I mean, I made that mistake here. I had a rule, and at least I followed through with the rule. So it looks like it's passing, but that wasn't necessarily the exactly correct way to put that. And so commercial impracticability is, I think, one of the biggest defenses here, because I think the reason why they would have defended is that they wouldn't possibly because I think it mentions in the fact. Yeah, and reduce. I think there's a reason why they say reduce its profit margin because they're trying to like tell you what kind of defense there's also one that's economic impossibility. But yeah, so maybe if you have time to do that one as well too. But you just one of these big ones. Just have at least one or two, preferably two. Good defenses. I think unilaterals. Because they're another big one because the point is that he only one side was mistaken and they're trying to like prove that maybe Jack reasonably could have known that there was a mistake and that way they could say well he knew that we wouldn't be able to get to him without adding all this cost yada 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 and that's it. So we have a nice little answer here. Looks like a passing answer. There's the governing law, merchants, valid contract. These are kind of the valid contract's a big one, to show that there is one of the biggest parts of doing a contracts question. The headlines are nice, you know, modification, boom. So if I was grading this, I would have given myself a 72. It's like, you know, he gets a governing law, always number one. Let's see, let's keep going, huh? Merchants, oh yeah, that's like one of the big issues. He saw that. Okay, about the contract, he does that. Modification, boom, this guy really gets it, you know, he knows what the issue is here. And whether or not you want to put like perfect tender rule above modification or something, I think that would just confuse it, because perfect tender rule is contingent on the modification. Therefore, you need to put the modification first. It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, sort of thing, you know. Um, and it's not that the modification is contingent on the perfect tender rule, if that makes sense, you know. If the modification is not valid, that means the contracts that Stone Cold one is not valid, and therefore the perfect tender rule comes into play. Okay. Um, the counter offer, you know, well, hey, you know, like I think it was good that I guess he gets that too. That like that, just because it wasn't perfect tender doesn't mean it's just like automatically in breach. You know, it's good to discuss like that. You get it both sides. You know, well, maybe you could have accepted as a counter. You know, but then the facts do state that he nope, would not accept substitution. You know, so it's good you got that you know this part's here too. Breach, that's number two most important thing. It's not always a huge thing, breach. You know, sometimes you have like anticipatory breaches and all that, but we always on a contract question would usually have to bring a breach. And then it goes straight into damages. Look at it. Obviously, he saw that, which is good. He's got some general damages. I'm not, you know, I'm not quite sure that's how I put that, but hey, he's a 1L. You know, again, this is from the point of view of the grader. Defenses, commercial impracticability. Yeah, he gets it. Good, all right. You know, a lot of mistakes. Sure, why not? Maybe a few more things I would have added, but by and large, this guy's got good structure. He uses the exact, you know, the facts. It's well laid out, organized, easy to read. He answers the question. I think this definitely deserves a 70. So check out my other videos. Go to 1L1L.org, and feel free to hit me up for anything. Thanks for watching, guys.